Today, I want to talk to everybody about the new welfare queens. And these folks get a hell of a lot more money than the old welfare queens. So let's list some names for you guys first. Representative-elect Vicky Hartzler from Missouri. Representative Michelle Bachmann. Oh, she's a big one. From Minnesota. Representative-elect Kristi Noem from South Dakota. Representative-elect Stephen Fincher from Tennessee. Why are they the new welfare queens? Well, look at the subsidies that they've gotten over the last set of years. Representative-elect Hartzler's family got $770,000 over the last 15 years.
Family?
Yeah.
This is to their families?
It is to them and their families. They all have different situations. I'll tell you about that in a second.
I'm not supposed to interrupt the rant. That's right.
It's all good. It's all good. So Bachmann, she got actually a little bit more than this. It says $15,000 to $50,000, but it's actually $250,000 to her family farm in the ironically named Independence, Wisconsin. Representative-elect Kristi Noem in South Dakota got $3 million over 15 years. For example, Dylan, there, she divested before the election and said, well, it's not my farm anymore. She didn't give the $3 million back, shockingly enough.
Yeah, no.
And then finally, Representative-elect Stephen Fincher in Tennessee, he got $3.2 million over 10 years. Now, those are some big numbers, but let's look at the overall numbers. How much do people get in farm subsidies? Look at that. From 95 to 2009, $245.2 billion in farm subsidies. Now, if that ain't welfare, I don't know what is. And it turns out it, of course, goes to the very rich. The top 10% of farms or cooperatives get 74% of the subsidies for just 5 different crops. That's it. A lot of these farmers are actually in New York City. Okay, Edgar Brofman Sr. or Jr., whichever one, I'll tell you that in a second, is the guy who is, of course, a billionaire, and he lives in New York City, but he got farm subsidies.
Can we get those?
Well, we should look into it, because I'm not sure you actually...
You need to have a farm? Or
it is senior, by the way.
Okay.
So, now, but it's not just farm subsidies, it's handouts of all different persuasions, right? So, for example, you've got the Ricketts family. Joe Ricketts formed this group called Taxpayers Against Earmarks. He's the dad, and he says, okay, well, I don't like earmarks, I don't like this pork barrel money going out. In fact, he's very animated about it. Let's watch a clip here.
I think it's a crime for our elected officials to borrow money today, to spend money today, and push the repayment of that loan out into the future on people who are not even born yet.
That is a crime, a crime. And the whole point of the group, Taxpayers Against Earmarks, is no pork barrel spending, you don't get these subsidies, etc. Of course,
that's a pretty good point.
Yeah, I like that point. I've been defending that point and giving the Republicans credit on that all week long at 3 o'clock,
yes,
right?
You have.
So, his son, Joe Ricketts, owns the Cubs and is asking the good people of Chicago for $300 million to redo Wrigley Field, okay? So what happened? I thought you were against handouts. It turns out when it's your $300 million, you love the handouts. But the guys at the Taxpayers Against Earmarks, they've got an explanation. Here's their quote. This is from the president, Brian Baker. He says, Taxpayers Against Earmarks is concerned with the issue of waste, fraud, and abuse in federal spending decisions. Questions about state and local level spending decisions are best left to state and local officials and the voters. In other words, we don't want to rob you at the federal level, but if it's the state level, come on, that helps. We're getting $300 million. Now, a lot of these guys are either working, obviously, in these nonprofits, Taxpayers Against Earmarks, or they're politicians. But I want to end on this note of a regular guy, a farmer, okay, one of those farmers that we were talking about. His name is actually David Youngerman. He's from Missouri, and he was so mad he put up this sign on his trailer. Are you a producer or a parasite? Okay, and he accuses the Democratic Party of being parasites. Well, I think at this point you're not going to be surprised to find out that Youngerman got a $1 million federal farm subsidy from 1995 on, and he just says, look, that's my money coming back to me. I'm not a parasite. And that's the whole point. They think, well, it doesn't count if it's me. If I'm getting the millions, it's okay. And they're the new welfare queens.
We need a good shrink, I've decided. Thank you, Cenk.